Hey there everyone, I'm Jakejames Lugo and welcome to the channel. So let's talk about this little gadget right here, the PlayStation Vita. It's been a while since I did a top 5 video and I saw all this chatter about Vita on social media, so I was like, you know what, I never actually sat down and told you guys what some of my favorite PlayStation Vita games were, so now's as good a time as any. So of course, as we're talking about some of the best or the top 5 games in my opinion for this console, let me also reiterate that this is my list and there's not going to be every single major release or ones that a lot of people feel are very popular included on here for one reason or another, which we'll get into a little bit later. Regardless though, I hope you all enjoy this list, so kick back, relax, and let's finally talk about the PlayStation Vita with some of the best games in my personal opinion, starting out with number 5. Freedom Wars. I'll admit, this pick is totally one for me. However, Freedom Wars is actually pretty good. It's a fun twist on the gameplay formula from Monster Hunter. If you've never seen or played it before, Freedom Wars is a game about humanity's struggle in a post-apocalyptic future where communities known as panopticons wage war against each other. As that is going on, giant monsters known as abductors roam the land and threaten the existence of the last humans on Earth. If you've played any Monster Hunter before or similar games like Soul Sacrifice, then you'll have a basic idea of what you're getting here. One thing I thought that was very cool is an item called the Thorn. It's an accessory that allows you to grapple onto areas of the map, as well as also be used as a weapon to attack enemies. Think of it like a kind of grapple hook that could also be used for other things. There's other neat stuff in here, but if you've been following my channel for a long time, then you'll know exactly why this one is personal for me. Freedom Wars was actually one of the first wiki guides that I worked on for IGN back in the day, so I had a lot of time to play it. If you're in the mood for something a little bit different on the Vita, give Freedom Wars a try and see if you like it. Luminous Electronic Symphony. It takes a lot of work to develop a well-crafted puzzle game, but developer Q Entertainment and Ubisoft had a great thing on their hands with Luminous for the PlayStation Vita. Funny enough, this isn't the first Luminous game. The first in the series was actually made for the PSP back in 2004, with Luminous Electronic Symphony releasing for the PlayStation Vita in 2012. The game is pretty simple to get into and addictive as hell to play. You match different blocks together and allow a constantly moving line to remove them as it passes along a sound-infused, colorful stage. I absolutely love the visuals and music here, which only makes the addictive gameplay even more fun to engage with. This isn't a game that utilizes the full potential of the PS Vita hardware, but you don't necessarily need that in order to create an amazing game that people will want to constantly revisit. I definitely put this one high up among the must-own titles for the PlayStation Vita. Something I want to touch on, and a couple of you are probably already noticing this as we go through the list, there are just certain genres, while they have great games offered for the PlayStation Vita, there's a lot of people out there that consider them some of the best amongst like the library for this console. They didn't make it onto my own personal list, for one reason or another. There are just certain genres that even though, again, they may have some good games for this thing, they just didn't translate well into like experiences that I felt like were gangbusters or the creme de la creme of the entire PlayStation Vita library. I noticed this with specific genres like first-person shooters and third-person shooters, as well as also fighting games, and you could even throw in RPGs if you want to. The thing is that while we do have games like Unit 13, Killzone Mercenary, we even have Final Fantasy X-10-2 HD Remaster, we have Mortal Kombat, we have all these different things, Uncharted, Golden Abyss. Some of these games a lot of people praise, and I understand and I look at them and they're great games. But the creme de la creme of the Vita, as far as like total experiences that were just amazing, I don't really think so. The other thing too I do have to say is that I am picking games that were really primarily made for the PlayStation Vita, not necessarily games that were ported over from other consoles or were made with just other things in mind that just happen to be on PS Vita. A lot of the games that I am picking, that I am focusing on, really had the PlayStation Vita in mind first, before anything else. Of course, they did get ported over to other platforms later on, but really at the time when this thing was still relevant, it was really PlayStation Vita first, and then everything else afterwards. Look, I understand that some of you out there might disagree with me, but again, it is my own personal list, and I'm really hoping at least this list will give you at least a good overview of some of the best games out there for Vita, even though there's so many others that you could include on a list like this. I mean, if we were doing like a top 20, it'd be entirely different, I feel like. But regardless though, let's continue on the list with some of the best PlayStation Vita games. In my personal opinion, let's continue onwards with some of these games which I think you're going to be a little bit surprised about. Alright, I know I'm cheating here just a little bit, but how can I not mention Persona 4 on the Vita? There is so much that's already been said about Persona 4 Golden 100 times over here on YouTube. It's simply the best JRPG available for the PlayStation Vita, even though there's other solid JRPGs for the handheld. But what makes Persona 4 Golden so far ahead of everything else is the presentation, not just how quickly one can get immersed with the story and the characters. The game is pretty much a complete remake of the original Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2. You're getting a ridiculous amount of quality of life changes, new story elements, colorful tweaks to the menus, expanded dialogue between characters, anime cutscenes, bonus DLC outfits, and even wireless network features that connect you to other players in clever ways, without compromising your own experience. There's just so many great things infused into this version of the game that makes it leaps and bounds over other RPGs for the Vita. It really is that great of an experience. But even with saying all of this, you won't understand why so many people hold this game in high regard until you play it yourself. You could get Persona 4 Golden for other platforms now, but to me, this is still considered one of the best games released for the console. Speaking of Persona 4 Golden, an honorable mention I could give for PlayStation Vita would be Muramasa Rebirth. If you follow me for a while, you'll know how much of a fan I am of Vanillaware games. This includes games like Dragon's Crown, Odin Sphere, and of course, Muramasa the Demon Blade. The PS Vita version of this game is a re-release of the one on the Nintendo Wii. Muramasa Rebirth includes many quality of life tweaks and brand new content that wasn't in the original release. Unlike the one on the Wii, this version has a far better translation of its story and re-implements content that never made it into the original game. This also includes 4 additional DLC stories with new characters, new weapons, and some brand new music tracks. Being on the PS Vita also allowed the visuals of the game to look far more colorful than before. If you love seeing pretty games on the Vita, then you can't go wrong with Muramasa Rebirth. I only wish that this had gotten a re-release for home consoles afterwards so more people can play it. It's a damn shame that you'll be missing out on this if you don't have access to a Vita. Gravity Rush. I honestly feel like I had to include this game here. Gravity Rush is playable on other platforms now, but it was originally meant to be a new and unique experience for the PlayStation Vita. Its positive reception allowed it to get ported to the PS4 later, but a lot of what I'm going to say now is based on the original PS Vita version of Gravity Rush, also known as Gravity Days in Japan. This game plays around with the concept of controlling gravity, taking many design choices for a third-person action game and literally turning it on its head. You could say this game did it before something like Control did something similar. Players take control of Kat, a girl with amnesia and the ability to control gravity around her. She fights constantly against the Nevi, dark beings that attack a nearby town called Hexville, while also trying to rediscover elements of her past. A lot of people would say that the controls for this game got much better with the remaster on PS4, but I feel that the original game was still pretty good to control on the Vita. It's a wild and trippy time fighting against enemies as you're floating around in 0G, and then afterwards crashing onto the ground at a fast pace. Overall, Gravity Rush was a neat concept that felt new and original, resonating with everyone that picked it up. If you've never played it before, you can play it on the PS Vita or check it out with the remaster on the PS4. Velocity 2X. If you want to talk about developers who were down with the PlayStation Vita, then you have to talk about Future Lab and their work on Velocity 2X. This game is high-octane action that is both addictive and fun to play. The game is a sequel to Velocity Ultra, which was also on the PS Vita back in 2013. You control a ship called the Quarp, under the command of Lieutenant Kai Tana, which flies through space and can teleport to avoid objects. Unlike the first game, however, Velocity 2X allows players to take the action on foot, where the game switches to a fast-paced side-scrolling platformer. It's all about speed and reactions here, with the momentum never letting up as you play through various stages. You're constantly switching between sections where you control the Quarp in space and Kai on foot. There's definitely a big challenge here to overcome, but Velocity 2X definitely rewards players who really take the time to learn each stage and use their quick reflexes to avoid danger. Simply put, this game kicks a whole lot of ass if you're into fast-paced games. I highly recommend that you grab Velocity 2X on the PSN if you haven't already. And there you go, people. Those are my top 5 PlayStation Vita games, my own personal recommendations for this little handheld. I've been a fan of this thing, or at least a resident of Vita Island, since day one. This is actually my second PlayStation Vita that I owned. The first one I had was the white Vita that came with Assassin's Creed, but somebody had stolen it back then. Ugh. But yeah, I love the Vita. Again, I've been a fan of it and a fan of a lot of the games for a long time. I mean, look at my own PlayStation Vita case. As you guys can tell, it looks like a freaking tank. And it also just happens to have a couple signatures that you might recognize. But regardless, though, there's a lot of games on this little platform, or at least on this little console, but those are just my opinions about it. Let me know your own picks and your own thoughts about the PlayStation Vita down below in the comments section. Tell me, are you a fan of the handheld? Do you wish that it was around for a little bit longer? What are some of the games that you wish that either PlayStation or other third-party companies got a chance to develop for this thing that we ever actually got? Or at least, what are some of the games that you wish got another lease on life that are probably on this thing, but just haven't made it to other platforms? Talk to me about that stuff down below in the comments section. Thank you to everyone for checking out the video. If you guys could, make sure you hit that subscribe button to support the channel. And go click that bell icon too so you can know when I post up new videos each week. Don't forget to visit my Patreon for exclusive content and early access to brand new videos early. Then go check out my Discord server you could join via the link in the description box. We have a great community of gaming fans and so much more for you to enjoy. I'll talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.